Hi, welcome to my channel for some Guardium collectors administration consideration based on my experience as professional services with IBM and my recent practical experience at AIM, where I manage by myself about 50 collectors without this taking more than 10 to 20% of my time. In a previous video, categorized the issues you have when managing collectors, Guardium collectors, into 4 groups. Then one is about spikes and instability. Another one is the overload of the load and overload of appliances. The third one is when everything grows, right, and the amount of traffic you collect is growing, right, and the fourth one is when you went over the top. Then once again, all the issues related to managing Guardium collectors are direct consequence of the fact that database traffic is hectic by nature, very unstable, and cannot be predicted for the most part, and you have to deal with that, not try to bury your head into the sand. Okay, so the first thing is to detect how to detect unbalanced collectors, and for that, what do we mean by that? So there are permanently collectors overloaded as compared to other underloaded. Then it's really something you need to watch, because it's not good to have an unbalanced environment like this one. Overloaded collectors may get into trouble because of the load, and if they get into trouble, it may require a serious amount of maintenance and action by the Guardium teams. Also, and it can degrade very quickly. Underloaded collectors are not good either, because it's a cost you have to support, and you don't, and it's maybe some appliance you don't need to have, and therefore you need to reduce to what is a good size of the footprint of your environment. So it's very important to know where you stand on this. Then how to detect those overloaded and underloaded collectors. And actually you can do that in 2 steps, right? First, you've got the buffer usage monitor, which is a very rich report and gives you many information, in particular H0 receive, analyzer rate, analyzer Qlength, not rate, it's Qlength, and the system CPU load and MySQL disk usage. And you need to take those variables and compare them between collectors by ranking them, and this is what we're going to see. So the second thing it's to determine the contribution of each agent. Okay, so if we look at the architecture of an appliance, a collector, and how it relates to the buffer usage monitor report. So here basically you've got the collector itself. Here you've got the sniffer, which is the main process, and it's a central process in the collector. And here you've got the traffic coming from different agents, right? So they get into the neck, and the buffer usage monitor tells you what is the activity on the neck with this variable called H0 receive. So once it gets to the neck, it's being pushed to the analyzer, which is actually a listener. And the buffer usage monitor, the boom, gives you performance information through the variable called analyzer rate. And the analyzer has a queue where it puts the traffic is not able to handle right away. right? And it delays the processing of it. So this is information and performance on this queue is reported into this variable called analyzer Qlength. So the longer the queue is, the more traffic the analyzer was not able to handle, meaning that this appliance is probably overloaded. Here the parser, we don't have really much information about it, but it's probably not really needed. And then the traffic once parsed got pushed to logger, which writes into the database, and this logger also has a queue, but probably it's not really where you're gonna see issues and signs of load and overload. Right, then where you can see sign of overload is on those two, the CPU and MySQL. Then MySQL disk usage is very common and very much used, and it's true. It's really probably the first variable you need to look at if you, for a given retention period, if your disk grows, the appliance is receiving more, and it can be quite overloaded. And the system CPU load tells you how much the CPU is solicited, and the more it is, the more you got. And you need to compare those variables collector by collector across the collectors to get to a point where you are quite balanced, and all your collectors are being used in a kind of similar way. So back to these, the second thing, once you've got that, it's and you want to be able to do something about those collectors, you need to assess the contribution of each agent, and the buffer usage monitor doesn't give you that, right? So we need to look at other source of information for these. We need to if, for example, an agent is really sending a lot of data and consistently overloading the appliance, this you need to know it's this one, right? Even so, you may later on decide to move away smaller ones and give the collector and give these agents the entire collector, but you need to know the difference in terms of proportion. So we achieve that by you're gonna see but we achieve that by actually getting data out of the MySQL database, which is not the boom. So now place let's go to the demo of this part here, and how we can look at those variables and across collectors. So this is what kind of dashboard you can do with Qlength when you upload the buffer usage monitor of report of your different collectors into a Qlength instance, enrich with metadata. So I've got another video where I explain how we do that, but basically here you've got all the collectors as a wheel, right? But you've got some metadata. For example, we know that what collector is in terms of being a primary or a failover, right? Or a production or a non-prod collectors, or and what type of traffic the collector receives, right? So, which is repeated here. So the first variable we're going to look at is H0 received, which is, as you can see on this one, sorry, it's how much you receive on the neck, right? So here you've got the amount, the maximum or average of H0 received on each collector. And you can see that there are some unbalance here, and you probably need to do something. But the most active, I mean, the one receives the most traffic on H0 received is this one, and followed by this one, 103. The second variable we're going to look at is analyzer rate. So the analyzer rate is here. It's how much the listener and the catch. Then here something, you rank them and you can see there are some unbalance as well, right? So it's not necessarily a good thing. And anyway, you know that in this case it's 103, which is the big one, and followed by 106 and probably 89. Anyway, those three ones are good candidates for looking at how much traffic they get, and if some redistribution toward other collector would be possible and would be a good thing. The third one is really is a analyzer Qlength, and it's really it's an important one because it really shows what collector really had trouble processing immediately in real time the traffic, and had to put and to delay the processing of the traffic. So this is really quite important. And here you can see that it's collectors 106 by far, right? Then followed probably by 102. And if you can play to at least provide some relief to this collector, which we've seen, I think here it's 106. You see it's a second one here, and this one is not. It's 103. Okay, 103 is also the second one here, and it's no, it's not. So anyway, this one is one you need to look at. Then the fourth one is a system CPU load. So the system CPU load is a value that when it reaches its maximum, it's 100, right? Then we are at a quarter of the load of the CPU. Then basically here you don't have an issue, right? When the collector that uses the CPU the most is only at 25% of the CPU. So it may also mean that in this case maybe you've got too much. You've got too much memory assigned, CPU, and for example virtual CPU if you are in a VMware environment, and maybe it's a case where you can reduce the number of virtual CPUs, and if you give back some virtual CPUs capabilities to your VMware team, they probably will be pretty happy with that. So it's absolutely something to consider. And finally, the MySQL disk usage. So here you can see that for each collector, right? Here it's by alphabetic order, and it's a good way or easy way for you to retrieve the collector you are interested in. But we can see that this one and this one are currently, so especially this one, which reach 80%. And you've got a ranked view of the same thing, and you can see that those two, this one definitely you need to look at. This one somehow, yeah, because it's quite close to. For the rest, it's probably okay. So, and if you can redistribute some part of the traffic from those collector to so this is assuming that the retention period is the same on all collectors, which we know it's not true. So you need to take that also into account, which we don't do here. So by looking at the busiest collector from different standpoints, you can make a list of the one you need to look at, right, and potentially do take some action. here for this, the purpose of this demonstration, we're gonna look at one based on the analyzer Qlength, right? Because this is really something that needs to be looked at, and it's 106. So what we're gonna do, it's look at 106, which is somewhere here. Where is 106? It's in this case, what I'm gonna do is different. I'm gonna 106. It's where is 106? 106 is here, so I'm gonna select this one. Okay, so on 106, and you've got the different value for this one. So this is actually not a very good example, because actually this is a problem. Okay, so here, no, this is not the good. Then back to let's try to figure out how we can handle a collector which we have looked at and being overloaded, and what's the options you've got for fixing it. So let's take 106, right? Because 106 is one with the analyzer Qlength pretty high, so as compared to other ones. Then we know that 106 here is a prod server, and we know from here, so it's a MySQL. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do prod MySQL, right? And here I know I've got all the collectors, but some are primary and some are failover. If I want to redirect some traffic, right, from that collector to a similar collector but not as loaded as this one, then it has to be a primary. I don't want to redirect traffic to a failover. So now here I've got all the collector with those features, right? And it's basically my pool of candidates for collectors that can receive the traffic I'm going to redirect from 106, which is still here, right, toward other ones. So you have and you can do that a little bit I would say manually, right? But here you've got, if you choose this one, let's say 106 164, right, you see some so my disk usage is low. 80 receive is pretty low as well. So 106, and here 106 is here as well. So on analyzer rate is pretty low, right? And here 164, it's not even. So probably 164 is a good candidate. So let's see if it's 164. I don't see it here. Oh, it's here. Yeah. Okay. So it's but it's it's not much. 9 out of 100. It's definitely a good candidate. Okay. So now you need to determine the contribution of the different agents in order to be able to choose the steps you're gonna redirect to different collectors. So as mentioned, the boom unfortunately doesn't give us that. So we need to look at other places, and there are two places: the NEC and MySQL. Okay, the NEC. The NEC, we can look at it because there is a tool called IPtruff available on the appliance, right? And there is the MySQL, which gives you the number of records for each collector, each step, and it gives you an ID, even though it's a little bit distorted, but it gives you an idea of the contribution of each agent. Then we're gonna just in this video talk about IPtruff and reserve the discussion about how to use MySQL and the count of SQL we can use to assess the contribution of the different agents. We're going to reserve this discussion for another video because this is a different ball game, right? It's a lot of it's a major challenge, and which have some significant architecture consequences, because it's easy to send the boom to an ELK instance and enrich it, because it's small. It's very small. There is in a boom report there is one record per minute. There is 1440 minutes a day. And even if you got a 50 or 100 collector, it's not a lot, right? It's very small. And it's really absolutely manageable. When we look at the SQL recorded into MySQL, it's a totally different story. And this is why we're going to take this stuff for later on. Then let's talk about IPtruff. Then you just go to CLI, you type IPtruff, and you need to get familiar with the GUI, but it's a little GUI in this, and you need to get to this kind of that screen. And for each connection to the appliance, you're gonna have those two things, right? So, because normally this is the collector IP address, this is the client, which is basically the agent. And here you have the number of bytes, so bytes received. So, and you're gonna see it's ordered from the largest one to, and just by looking at those numbers, you're gonna know exactly which one is what agent is contributing and how much, and what the big ones are. And there is it's an interactive, right? So there are some ways to log that, but you know, you let it run for some time, and you're gonna see the big numbers. It's gonna be ordered, and Then here is a link to this to the video where I took this screen from, and it tells you how to use IPtruff. Then that's it for this video. Then the other part, which is to determine the contribution of each agent from how many records and of SQL have been recorded into MySQL. This is for the next video. I invite you to watch. Thank you very much for watching and my channel and watching this video.